I still, at my age, middle-aged father and husband and homeowner and professor and writer, I'm supposed to be beyond these things, but I still believe that a real man should be able to defend his family if they're in danger, should be able to provide for his family, should be able to feed his family, should be able to keep them warm in the winter and cool in the summer, should be able to provide a car that starts up, should be able to pay for their education, and should be a good listener and a loving husband and an attentive and devoted father. I think that's a man of action. and I think those kind of archetypal qualities were ingrained in me as a kid. I didn't see it so much. I'm not saying my father didn't do any of those things, but he was an absent father, so I didn't see a daily reflection of what a man was. I had no uncles around, and we moved a lot. I didn't know a lot of grown men, and my memoir is all about how I fought my way out of my youth. And really, I mean, on a more visceral level, the man of action, because I talked about man of action when I was discussing not respecting writing my essays. In those days, I just wanted to, it was a scary neighborhood. I couldn't defend myself or my siblings, and I desperately needed to, and I taught myself how to. I became a fighter and a boxer and a violent young man, and it actually ultimately shaped my life for the better, so that even now as a middle-aged man, I really prize action, physical action, over a lot of talk, which seems almost counterintuitive to the writing life. I spend my life writing words and reading them out loud and talking about them, but I do believe that we need to act. Maybe we need to be acting more than talking often. Let me give you a concrete example. This whole notion of, yes, I love you, son. Well, you can say I love you, son, but what'd you do for him today? Yeah.
Do you think that is missing in our society?
I don't know if it's missing in our society, but I do sense that there's, and this is not an original thought, just my observation over the years, that the definition of a man has shifted. That men really don't know what it is to be a man now, and a lot of this has to do with feminism in a really good way. Women don't need men anymore to take care of business because they're taking care of business because they've finally been given the opportunity to go and work, and that's been the case for decades. Most families I know, the woman makes more than the man, and I think that's great. I would have no problem with my wife making all the money. In fact, I love to cook. I'll do that. Not that it's easy. I think what shifted is I think we're still working out who are we anyway as men and women, especially in the 21st century. I think one of the strange little side effects of the very positive feminist movement has been that we've sort of subconsciously confused equality with being the same. Men and women, yes, are born equal, but we're not born the same. Thank God. So, I don't know. It's something I think sometimes shows up in my fiction, this wrestling with what a man is, what a woman is, especially in terms of modern marriage. What's it like to be in a relationship where the laws are different, the job descriptions of a husband and wife are totally different, and how do we work it out? Every couple has to find a way to do it. I read a very influential book, for me influential, I think it was influential in the culture, back in the early 70s, by a sociologist named Philip Slater. It's called The Pursuit of Loneliness. And it's a really smart, well-written book, and in it he says that capitalistic and competitive cultures like the United States, like Great Britain where we're sitting right now, tend to break their citizens down into either winners or losers. He said, which is not the hallmark of more cooperative cultures, more communal cultures. And it wasn't even a criticism, it was an observation. And then he went on to say something really poignant, I thought, that in these sorts of cultures then, those that are obsessed with winning who equate happiness with being a winner and who equate unhappiness with being a loser, which is a very reductive and narrow way of looking at the world, right? Those cultures are therefore necessarily more predisposed to be over preoccupied with image. That essentially what you're asking, that we dress to look a certain, that so much of what we do subconsciously is about, am I coming across as if I'm winning right now, or do I look like I'm losing? You know, and especially, you know, in America, we're also now a youth-worshipping, death-denying, narcissistic, shallow culture that, I mean, I've just seen a change in my life, that it's gone from being shallow to shallower. And I see a greater sexual objectification of girls and women. It's so what I'm getting at is, I try not to think thematically when I'm writing fiction. I've learned over the years, if I just trust the descent into the dream world, and if I try to capture the particular, I may end up saying something universal and thematic, themes with which I didn't even know I was preoccupied. And so, to answer your question about the schism, I did see, for example, in Iranian culture, with just a few Iranian families I'd met, that there was, particularly in that culture, and I'm generalizing terribly, but a real pride in how you present your family to the rest of the world. And, you know, we're not unlike that in the States. If you look at high school reunions, right? Think about high school reunions. You know, the ones, you know, I've been to a few of mine, and I've noticed a pattern. That the ones who haven't really had a good go of it, who may have gotten married, divorced 3 times, or gained 100 pounds, or gone broke, or, you know, they don't go to the reunion. But the ones who, all right, maybe I got divorced once, well, maybe my car's not the latest model, maybe I gained a few pounds and I don't have my hair anymore. They show up, they dance, they have a good time. But the ones who are doing even better than they did in high school, who look better than they did in high school, who are wearing $5,000 worth of clothes when they step out of their Lexus XJ9 5000, not only do they come to the party, they organized it. Back to being a man of action or a woman of action. It seems to me, and this is not an original thought, but what defines us are our actions, far more than our thoughts and feelings. You know, William James was depressed for 5 years, and he writes in the Varieties of Religious Experience that what got him out of bed in the depression was he made his facial muscles smile. He made him like this. And it actually made him feel like smiling. And then he felt better. I don't want to, you know, reduce depression to something that easy. But we all know that feeling follows action. And I've certainly learned this in the discipline of writing. I rarely feel like writing when I sit down to write. There are a bunch of other things I'd rather do, because first of all, writing's hard. You know, eating a donut isn't. Drinking a beer with my feet up, watching CNN is not hard. Well, I have love for my father, even though he was a flawed father and absent for a lot of our youth because of the divorce and various complex factors. You know, we always love our parents, don't we? And we don't always like them, even if they physically or sexually abuse us, and that didn't happen with my father, of course. That's a real blood tie that's really hard to shake. And
even if he's not around.
Even if he's not around, I think especially if he's not around. You know, I forgave my father his flaws. I forgave him his absence. I forgave him what I perceived as a young man, his self-absorption and focus on, you know, I just felt that he had put his art ahead of his family. And who knows, maybe he sensed at an intuitive level that he wasn't going to live a long life and he only had so many years to do what he needed to do. And, you know, maybe we're the collateral damage of that. Maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay, because the truth is his work has affected beautifully many, many, many people. I can tell you, I was very angry. You know, my anger really got heavy after I became a father myself. And then I began, because I began to see how much I was doing for my kids that didn't get done for me, but then I also began to feel sorry for my father and all he'd missed. You know, those late night trips to the bathroom, changing the diapers, taking care of the kids when they're sick, driving to the grocery store together, telling jokes in the car. I mean, he'd missed so much. And then I began to forgive him. And, you know, I truly believe that we human beings across the world get out of bed or off the floor or off the ground every morning trying to have the best day we know how to have, which is not the same as the best day we can have. I think just about all of us are trying to have a damn productive, constructive day when we get up. Even those who are addicted and, you know, involved in crime, they're trying to do a good job of it that day. But some of us end up in jail by midnight with blood under our fingernails. So that wasn't the plan. So I think there's a profound difference between doing the best we know how and doing the best we can. And in that gap is the potential for growth. I think my father did the best he knew how to do at the time, given all the complex forces that made him him. I think my mother did the best she knew how to do. Wasn't the best they could do, but, you know, I'm doing the best I know how to do now, and it's not the best I can do. I know I can do better. And, you know, I ask for guidance all the time to help me see how I can do it better, and I'll try to do that. And so I forgave him. Forgiveness is a big deal.